Get your free copy of the complete tutorial at www.teachucomp.com/free.
The Payments window is used to select and pay individual vendors. To access the Payments window, select Tasks from the menu bar, and then choose the Payments command. You can use this window to enter purchases which have been made from vendors that do not have an associated bill, or you can use it to apply payments to vendor bills that have been entered through the Purchases Receive Inventory screen. When you select a vendor ID within the Payments window, all unpaid bills that have been entered for this vendor will then appear on the Apply to Invoices tab below. For unpaid vendor bills, you can choose to pay the entire amount of the vendor bill by simply checking the Pay checkbox, or you can enter an amount into the Amount Paid column on this tab to make a partial payment. In this area, you can also apply prepayments and vendor credit memos within this same window. Now, to enter information into the window, first select either Vendor ID or Customer ID from the drop-down field of the same name that appears at the top of the form, and then select either the Vendor ID of the vendor or the Customer ID of the customer from the adjacent drop-down field. Now, to enter a payment to a vendor who's not in your vendor list, you would simply leave these fields blank and instead type the vendor's name into the Pay to the Order of fields that appear at the bottom of this form. Note that you would only choose a customer ID within this form in order to issue a customer refund check. Once you've input this information, you can next enter the check number of the check that was used to pay the vendor or vendor bill into the text box of the same name if the check has already been issued. You would instead leave this blank if you plan to print the payment checks through Sage 50, as the check number will then be assigned during the printing routine. You then enter the date of the payment and make sure that you have the correct cash account selected. Also note the Recur button that appears in the toolbar at the top of this window. You can click this button to create a payment and then have it recur in this and future time periods by simply selecting the frequency with which to automatically have this payment recur within the Create Recurring Payments dialog box that appears. Once you've set your payment frequency, you can click OK to create the future payments in Sage 50. This can be a handy time saver for bills that you enter on the Apply to Expenses tab, which you have to pay on a set schedule with the same amount to the same vendor in future time periods. So, for example, a utility bill or a phone bill. Now note that the total cash balance should be displayed in the lower portion of the upper section within this window, and if it says uncalculated in the cash account balance field, you can click the Recalculate button that appears to the right in order to display the correct total balance. Now, you would use the Apply to Expenses tab that appears at the bottom in the line item section of this window to enter payments to vendors that are not associated with any outstanding invoices or purchases. So you can use this tab to enter payments that don't involve bills and to make cash purchases. Note that if you select a vendor in the area above that doesn't have any outstanding invoices, this tab will automatically come forward. You can also check the prepayment checkbox that appears on this tab to create a vendor prepayment, which can later be applied to one or more invoices for that selected vendor back on the Apply to Invoices tab. You can also enter the number of items that are being purchased on the Items field within the Apply to Expenses tab, and that should bring up the description and general ledger account of the item if it's in your inventory. If not, you can change both fields. You may need to do the same with the unit price field if it's incorrect as well. So if you are purchasing an item that's not tracked in your inventory, simply enter the total price of the item into the amount field. Now you select the Apply to Invoices tab at the bottom to make payments against open vendor invoices. And as mentioned earlier, this tab will automatically come forward if you select a vendor with whom you have one or more outstanding invoices. So on this tab, you'll see the invoices, the date due, and the amount due. You can also enter a description for each invoice into the description field if desired. If you qualify for a discount, then the discount amount will be displayed within the discount column as well. You cannot take a discount on a partial payment, however. You can also enter the amount paid to the invoice within the field for amount paid, or you can simply check the checkbox for pay to pay the selected invoice in full. Now, once all the invoices included on a check are selected, you can click the Print button that appears in the toolbar at the top of this window to print the disbursement check to the vendor, or you can simply click the Save button to save the check later. Now note that if you had selected a customer ID instead of a vendor ID when you initially entered this window, the Apply to Customer Account tab would appear at the bottom instead. You use this tab to record customer refunds. And simply click the Save button when you finish data entry within the Payments window.
Like what you see? Pick up your free copy of the complete tutorial at www.t2comp.com/free.